Hey you guys, it's JGiamPietro here. I'm a huge fan of the X-Men and I can't wait for them to join the MCU. And now that we have WandaVision out, I'm getting major X-Men vibes from it. I thought that this is a great time to come back and recast the X-Men for the MCU. There is a possibility that the X-Men cast from before could come back. Personally, I love the cast from before, like McAvoy and Fassbender as Professor Xavier and Magneto. And I wouldn't mind having them back, but I'm open to a new cast. This first video is going to be my fan cast for the original 5, because I think that's where we should start the X-Men in the MCU. I'm in favor of a younger cast, because we know that we're going to get these characters for the next 10 plus years, so they can grow into those characters that we know and love. Firstly, let's start with Bobby Drake, aka Iceman. I have two people that I was going back and forth with, but ultimately I picked the one who was younger and caught my attention more. Recently in the X-Men comics, Bobby Drake came out as gay, and I need that to be canon in the MCU. I really wanted to pick an LGBTQ actor, so my first choice was Kenan Lonsdale. He played the Kid Flash on The Flash, and he is gay in real life. If we want to go with an actor who is a little bit older, then I think that he would be a good option for that. Also, before I reveal my final choice, I heard a rumor that Tanner Buchanan, this guy right here, was being looked at to play Bobby, and he was on my short list even before I heard that rumor because I loved him in Designated Survivor. I wouldn't pick him because I think Bobby would be a good character to race swap, but still I wouldn't be mad at that casting. So my final decision for who I would cast for Bobby Drake Iceman is Michael Cimino. He plays Victor on Love Victor, and I smile every time I see him on screen. He has such a positive energy about him that really comes through on camera. He is 21 and 5'10". Here's a scene of him.
I like guys. Like, I'm into them. I thought I might for a while, but I wasn't totally sure, and I really wanted to make things work with Mia because she's awesome. But I can't, because
one thing that I wish we saw more from him in Love Victor is his comedic side, because in the movie that I'm planning in my head, Bobby would be the comic relief for the movie, as he is a lot of time in the original 5 comic books and in any of the comic books he's in. It's the role he plays. Also with Michael, I'm not sure of his sexuality because he does have a girlfriend in real life, and it would be nice to have a gay person play one of the first prominent gay roles in the MCU, but we do know that he is comfortable in this type of role. Also, Love Victor is on Hulu, which is majority owned by Disney and was originally meant to be on Disney Plus. So he's in the Disney family already. I feel like he's got a good in there. And one other thing that I have to mention real quick is that I'm already shipping Bobby and Billy, aka Wiccan from WandaVision, together. Right now, while I'm filming this, it's episode 7. So we haven't got them aged up, but we know that it's coming, and I'm guessing by the end of the season he's gonna be aged up and we'll have an older actor. And I don't know, I just think it would be really cute, because I know Billy from the Young Avengers, Wiccan, he's gonna end up with Hulkling, like we all already know this, and then Bobby will probably get his heart broken at some point in the story, but I think that would be so cute, even if it's only just for a little while. Again, my final choice for Iceman in the MCU is Michael Cimino. Next, we will be casting for Angel in the MCU. I don't know why, but I had the hardest time choosing an actor to play Angel. I really wanted to cast an actor of color to play him because I feel like we're going to be getting a much needed diversity push in the MCU, and to have all 5 of the original class of X-Men characters to be white, just it seems like a big no-no. And all you really need to play Warren Worthington III is to give off rich pretty boy vibes. And really all of these castings for this video I did were difficult because I wanted to fit in between early to mid 20s, and I wanted it to be as diverse as I could make it. Plus, if I were making the story, the pitch video, there would be a love triangle here between Angel, Jean, and Scott, and I think that it would be disappointing if all 3 of them were white, but they're probably going to be in the movies, and they are here for me in this casting. Anyways, I love Warren so much. He's such an underrated character, and I feel like he's never got his due in the movies, because I like both of the actors that played him before, but they never got much to do. It was such a throwaway character, and Warren deserves better than that. But one person I ultimately chose not to go with is Austin Butler, because while he looks the part, he was just not inspired casting to me, but I just had to mention him at least. I also have John Lewis Castellanos, who is 25 and 5'11". He was in The Runaways. And there's also Harris Dickinson from The Darkest Minds. I think that's an underrated movie. And if we were going to go for a more traditional Angel look, also within this age range, he would be high up for me. Plus, what I have in mind for the character I know he would be able to give me. And if I were to do a pitch video, then I would go into more depth into that. I was going through my Pinterest and I had so many pics for Angel that I just thought I had to mention him. Keith Powers was also on my list because he definitely gives off pretty rich boy vibes. He was on this show called Famous in Love, where his character reminds me so much of Warren. Ultimately, I didn't choose him because of his age of 28. And that typically wouldn't matter, but almost everyone else I chose is 23 or younger, except Beast, who I'd want to be a little older. He's still a possibility for me though, because he reminds me so much of Warren in that show. Plus, a little side note for later on, he was on my short list for Cyclops, but I think he's a little too pretty and he fits Warren better for me. Another option I had was Charles Melton from Riverdale, and the son is also a star. His age was also the nail in the coffin for me at 30, but literally he'll be playing a teenager until he dies, just like him and Ross Butler. I haven't seen him in anything where he gives off Warren's personality. I mean, a little bit as Reggie in Riverdale, but you know what I mean. He also has the look down though. Warren in the X-Men movies, for me, would need to be a little snarky, but laid back with almost an I don't care, I'm too good for this personality. But he doesn't really mean that. Like, he loves being Angel, and he doesn't want it taken away from him because of his father who doesn't approve, and you can see that underneath. And I think both Keith and Charles could portray that. And if this was an older casting video, then they would 100% be my top 2. However, in the end, I ended up choosing Danny Griffin, who's 23 and 6 feet tall. He is on Fate, the Winx Saga, which is new on Netflix. I was watching that show and I started calling him Warren in War while I was reacting to his scenes. He looks exactly what I would want Warren to look like. The longer blonde hair, the slender body, his height.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to get up to? Even Silver, it's like he's It's like he's playing some role out of sense of duty. When all I really want...
In that scene I just played, he is giving me all the Warren vibes. He looks exactly like I would want Warren to look like. And as soon as I watched that show, I knew, because I had the hardest time casting someone for Angel, and he just seems like the one. One problem that I would have is we don't know if he can do an American accent, but I honestly wouldn't be mad if he just kept his original accent, and we can say that Warren is an immigrant to this country, and I think that would add an interesting depth to the character. Like, he's from an immigrant family that moved here, and his family became really successful here in America, so he feels even more pressure to live up to the legacy of his father. You know, one problem that I also have with him is that I would be worried about his acting ability, because if this was my movie pitch, then this would be a deep role that we might want a more meaty actor to really get their hands into. And when I see him, I think of him as a model first, actor second, especially if you go into his Instagram and you can see that he portrays so many emotions in his photographs. So I do have faith in him on that end. Still, Fate was the first thing I have ever seen him in. You know, he could grow into acting the more that he does it. Fate is getting a season 2. So hopefully his character will have more of a role so he can flex those acting chops, so to see if he has it. I've also been watching just interviews with him and of course him on Fate, and it feels like perfect casting to me. I'm telling y'all, I pushed back this video because I could not figure out who I wanted to play Angel, and I could be swayed on this decision if I discover someone else who fits the diversity and age requirements. If you feel like one of the other actors that I mentioned before or someone that I didn't mention would be a better choice for Angel, let me know in the comments down below. Still, Danny Griffin would be my top choice for Warren Worthington III, aka Angel. I just talked so much about Warren, so let's move into Hank McCoy, aka Beast. In every ensemble cast, there needs to be at least one character who's sidelined, and I'm sorry, but Beast has gotta be you. He would be still an important character in this movie because he would be the oldest out of the original 5. I'd want him to be more of a teacher's assistant to Professor Xavier, or his partner, or like a grad student or something. His part would be the science behind how the X-Men work, kind of like he was in the other movies. In this first movie would all just be regular Beast. No blue, no fur, just him. One of my choices was Will Poulter from Maze Runner, aka Eyebrows. I'm sorry, that's mean. I remember he got bullied off Twitter because of that, but I like his eyebrows. He's 28 and 6'3", so those specs would definitely work for Beast. He don't look that tall. Beast is allowed to be a bit older because my backstory for him would be that he met Professor X when Professor X came to his school, like his college, to teach a seminar, and then the main story would be like a few years after that. I don't know why, but Will just looks smart to me, and I think that he did so good in that game Little Hope. My main choice for Beast would have to be John Boyega at 28. He's 5'9" from the Star Wars movies. I know he had some controversy over how Disney treated him in the Star Wars movies, so I don't know if he would be interested or up to a role like this. And like I said, the first movie would be John Boyega in the role, but in later movies, when he does become blue and furry, he would probably be CGI, and Boyega would be doing the voice and the mocap work, kind of like Mark Ruffalo with the Hulk. One thing that I didn't like about the X-Men movies before was him switching back and forth, so there will be none of that here. He also looks very smart to me, and I can see him being the optimistic, quote sprouting beast that we all love.
I'm Ty.
Why the low profile?
I just wanted to move through this world like a normal person. I didn't want to be watched every second, but I do spend a lot of time here. It's easier. I don't have to deal with Stenton and Bailey. Not that I'm privy to their conversations.
Beast's storyline for me would be him realizing over the course of the movie that he isn't a fighter and he wants to be seen more for his brains than his bronze. Plus, I think that he would get a bigger role later on and possibly leave to join the Avengers like he does in the comics. Since this is meant to be a younger casting video, I could be convinced to do an older X-Men casting video. Comment down below if you would be interested in that. So once again, my main choice would be John Boyega as Hank McCoy, Beast. Okay, we are getting into my two favorite X-Men characters in the whole franchise, but first we're going to start off with my favorite character, Jean Grey, who is a part of my favorite couple ever, my OTP, Jean and Scott. I debated on which one of them would go first, but I decided on Jean because in this movie, I would want Scott to be the main character because he's been shafted in all these movies and done so dirty by the writers, even though he's had great actors. This one is about Jean though. I'll be honest about Sophie Turner. She was not my ideal choice for Jean. Maybe with time she could have grown into the role because they went from her barely even being in Apocalypse because we were focused on Mystique, who should have been a villain the whole time, into Dark Phoenix immediately without giving the audience a chance to fall in love with her. And her and the guy who played Cyclops just had zero chemistry to me. That scene where they met for the first time is one of the worst scenes I have ever saw in my entire life. And that first meeting between these two characters who are soulmates should have been fire, and it just fizzled out. It could have been a writing issue though, and I've always viewed Jean as like the popular girl trying to come off as Miss Perfect because she feels like she has to be to prove herself to Professor X, and she's a star student and a model of what Professor Xavier's school should and can be. So her being the weirdo girl with no friends is so opposite of how I view her that it bothered me. I haven't gotten to the casting yet. I have only one person in mind that I think is absolutely perfect for Jean, but first I'll give a shout out to Phoebe Defner or Daphne from Bridgerton. I think she looks the part and I loved her in that show. She also dyed her hair red and I think it does look good on her. She's 5'5" and 25, which is a bit shorter and a bit older than I like, but she looks young, really young, and it's not like the height matters that much since Jean could fly. She's also British, so we'd have to see about the accent. And then there's Saoirse Ronan, and there's a rumor that she was talking to Marvel, and she's also on the shortlist for Fox's Jean back in 2015-2016. The only thing I've ever seen her in is The Host, and that movie was awful, and I thought the acting was bad in that movie as well, but I've heard that she's gotten a lot better since then, so I would be willing to give her a chance. And I just have to mention that she has blonde hairs, and she's kind of giving me Emma Frost White Queen vibes. She's 5'6" and 26. Okay, but my one and only choice for Jean Grey is Abigail Cohen from The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and Fate the Winx Saga, both on Netflix. And Fate just got a season 2, as I mentioned earlier. She is 22 and 5'7". If you watch Fate, I see so much of Jean in her. As you guys probably noticed, my Jean and Angel picks are both in that show. So we already know that they have good chemistry together and could pull off another love triangle. They're both Netflix actors, and we know that Marvel is looking at Netflix for actors because Xochitl Gomez from The Babysitters Club will be playing America Chavez in Doctor Strange 2. The characters do have differences because Bloom in the show is more introverted and not very good with people, which works for like Fox's version of Jean, but not mine. And I can see Abigail being able to play outgoing because she seems that way in the interviews that I've seen from her. I just don't see it just because Bloom has fire powers and Jean has the whole Phoenix thing going on. She also looks perfect for the role, and she has a very subtle acting style that I really like and enjoy. Even though I picked a scene of Bloom using her fire powers, I just have to say there will be no Phoenix here. I love Jean just the way she is without the Phoenix, and I think she's very powerful just as herself. And if they do end up doing the Phoenix saga, it should be forever away, and either that they do it right and it'd be the actual Phoenix and then Dark Phoenix story from the comics, or something is completely different like the Phoenix 5. And in this movie, which would just be the first one, her code name would probably be Marvel Girl, even though that name is terribly silly. I think it would be a running gag in the movie of Bobby and Warren picking on her for choosing that name. She has to have some sort of code names because in this movie they would still have secret identities. So she couldn't just say her name out while they're fighting. That would be dangerous. You don't want to give that away. And we can say that the name is a work in progress. I've made so many edits of her as Jean and my Jean and Scott picks together that I might be a little obsessed with this casting. So Marvel, make it happen, please. Again, my choice for my favorite X-Men would be Abigail Cohen as Jean Grey, Marvel Girl. Finally, we are getting into Cyclops. He is my second favorite X-Men character after Jean Grey. He needs to be the main character of the first X-Men movie because he was just ignored in all of the movies before this. He's such an integral part of the X-Men. Now, before we get to my top choice for Cyclops, I have to mention Armie Hammer because so many people wanted him to play Cyclops, but I was never on that train. I knew it. And I think a lot of people are off that train now. And there's also Nick Robinson from Love, Simon for a possible Cyclops, but I've never seen it. I've heard people talking about this for a younger Cyclops. He's too soft for me. I've only seen him play like really sweet characters, and Cyclops needs to be just a little rough. He just seems like way too nice. And people have also said he could play Iceman, but I just don't see that either, even though I loved Nick Robinson growing up. Earlier, I said that Keith Powers from Famous in Love was on my shortlist for Cyclops, but when I found the right actor, I just stopped searching and I said, this is the person who needs to play Cyclops. And for me, that actor is Jacob Elordi from Euphoria and Netflix's The Kissing Booth. If you've just seen him in those Kissing Booth movies, you may not think that he's a good actor, but you should really watch Euphoria. His character Nate in that show puts me through a full range of emotions, and he does it so well. I don't want anyone telling me that he's not a good actor after watching that show. He honestly may be the best actor on this list. And I feel like he does a good job at being very stoic, and he usually plays villains or jerky type guys, and this would be a good chance for him to play the hero for once. Plus, Zendaya, or MJ, in the Spider-Man movies is in Euphoria with him, and he also knows Tom Holland, so I feel like it's an in into the Marvel universe.
It's kind of embarrassing to admit, but on the times when we've broken up, I know for a fact that she's been with other guys. I don't know, I mean, it's possible that night. That doesn't matter.
What were you gonna say?
Doesn't matter.
He is 23 years old and 6'5". And Scott has the nickname Slim in the comics, and he was never called that in any of the X-Men movies, and I think it's so cute when Jean calls him that. And so that's one thing that would definitely be happening in my X-Men movie. I feel like Jacob can add so much depth to this character and give Cyclops justice, because people be hating on him. I think it's just because he's such a difficult character to understand. I've heard people say that if Marvel reboots the X-Men, they should just do a whole different cast of mutants, and I disagree, because we never got an original 5 movie, and we need to see them get done right. Plus, later on, you can't bring Wolverine in between Scott and Jean's relationship without showing why Scott and Jean ever got together in the first place. This first entry into the X-Men universe for me would be a love story between these two characters. Scott and Jean slowly falling in love, and Scott falling in love with himself and his powers, and starting to accept himself for who he truly is. As anyone who has seen or read the original X-Men stories know that Scott has some serious self-hate issues, and I want to see that journey of him overcoming that in this movie. And one of the reasons why him and Jean don't get together in the comics for so long is because he doesn't understand why she would ever choose him when Warren is in the picture. Plus, he's scared that if his glasses get knocked off, he could kill her just by looking at her. I think he has such a complex character, and it's difficult to write, so a lot of people just avoid that. And he has a very peculiar personality type, and that's hard to describe, but I'll try. Warren is snarky to hide his insecurities, and Scott has that as well. He's more aloof and distant than Warren, because he keeps himself away from everyone because he has abandonment issues from that time his whole family died. He's shy and reserved, but as the story would continue to go on, he would reveal himself to be an incredible listener and observant, like things that you need in a leader. Deep down, he's just scared of himself, and he's scared of his powers. He's scared of falling in love with someone just to lose them. He wasn't treated very well in the foster system, so when Professor Xavier takes him in, he just doesn't want to do anything that would make Professor X get rid of him. And he feels like he has to persevere through all of that, and it helps him in his journey to become the leader of the X-Men, because it's a role that he doesn't believe that he deserves, and prove to himself and everyone else that he is a leader, and he's strong enough physically and emotionally to lead them. And finally believing that Jean can fall in love with him, that he deserves to have that love in his life and be the leader of the X-Men, not just because he walked into it, but because he worked hard and he earned it. I think it's such an important story, and that it should be told properly. So justice for Cyclops, give it to me. All of them are in their early 20s except Hank, and even though they've all played high school before the actors, this movie might not come out for a while, so I'm okay with them being college age in this first X-Men movie instead of high school, with some flashbacks. Maybe Jean and Scott could be seniors in high school, and Bobby could be a sophomore or a junior. Warren graduated a year or two before, and with Hank being an adult, like a teacher's assistant to Professor X. I do want to make a pitch video for my story of the X-Men in the MCU, but I would need some help from you guys getting things together. And I think I would also like to continue making cast videos similar to this one in what Bryan Seeker did. Also, if you guys want to see some really good X-Men pitches, go watch the GOAT Movie podcast. Their videos are so good, and both of those people or channels inspired me to make this one. Finally, we have Michael Cimino as Bobby Drake Iceman, Abigail Cohen as Jean Grey, aka Marvel Girl, Danny Griffin as Angel, Warren Worthington III. And then we have Cyclops, Jacob Elordi, and Hank McCoy, Beast, John Boyega. And that is my fan casting for the original 5 X-Men in the MCU. This was so much fun to make. All the art is not mine, but I have edited other people's work. I will try to credit the original artist, but if there's anyone that I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, if you want to get a better look at the art, please go to my Instagram at @IaBethley and I will post it there. Also, consider following me on Patreon because I want to work with you guys on my X-Men pitch over there. Also, we can talk about it in the comments down below and we can figure that out. Side note, I want to start doing movie reactions because I would love to watch the X-Men movies with you guys along with other movies. And if you know how to do that, that would be greatly appreciated. This was just focusing on the original 5 X-Men, and obviously if I was going to do a movie for this, there would be Professor Xavier and Magneto and the Brotherhood. I'm thinking maybe Lorna as well, because sometimes she was in these early X-Men stories. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please stay tuned for the next X-Men casting video. Thank you. Goodbye.